Hi, my name is Greg Mitchell. I'm with Center for Champions, and I have a master's degree in holistic nutrition and a certification in natural functional medicine. And today I wanted to talk to you about heart health. So, first off, let's start with the heart and tell you a little bit about it. Here's a couple of stats on that. The heart beats almost 100,000 times a day. That's a lot. That's like 2.5 billion times in your lifetime. It's amazing. And it works continuously, doesn't rest. It's got special cells that don't wear out or get tired. It'll rest between beats. Single drop of blood circulates through the entire body about once a minute. 5 quarts of blood every minute. It's a little more than a gallon. It's amazing that it pumps that much. The average adult heart size is about 2 fists, about this big, centered in your chest. It works twice as hard as the muscles of a sprinter. So if you think about a sprinter running at full speed, your heart's actually working harder than that, but it does it on a regular basis, day in, day out, night and day. Another interesting fact, there's 60 to 100,000 miles of blood vessels. If you strung them all end to end, it would wrap around the earth at like between 2 and 4 times. It's a huge amount of circulatory system stuff. So let's talk a little bit about some of the problems. What about heart disease in America? Pretty serious problem. Somebody experiences a heart attack every 40 seconds. Every 40 seconds. 805,000 people that adds up to over a year's time. It's a lot. Now, almost 1 million people. Of those, about 3/4, 605,000, it's the first time it happens. It's a first time event. They don't have any clue really that there's a heart issue going on. A lot of times people just don't know. And a third of those, about 200,000, end up being fatal. First time, and it takes you out. That's League City, the whole city dying every 6 months. That's a lot of death. So how do we know if we have a heart problem? What can you tell? Let's use the analogy of a car and check engine lights as a way to take a look at and think about things that are showing up. So what are the check engine lights for your heart engine? Couple one we have talk about palpitations. That's where you feel your heart flutter and it doesn't seem like it's beating right at night. And you lay down and your heart flutters in your chest. Arrhythmias, those will oftentimes be diagnosed or your doctor may talk about an arrhythmia, which really is an abnormal rhythm to your heart. Chest pressure, tension, discomfort, tightness in your chest, feels like somebody's sitting on your chest, those kinds of things. That's another real good indication. Pain in your left arm, down your left arm, in the neck, middle of your back, lower back, but primarily a lot on the left side will start to show up and increase a bit. A sign that you've got some problems there. Excessive yawning, interesting, or sign. You do that a lot or yawn a lot, what that kind of has a sign of is air hunger, that your body's trying to get more oxygen in. So there's a sign that you probably need to have somebody take a look at your heart function. Getting winded easily is the same thing. Shortness of breath, exertion, you do much, and you just run out of breath pretty easy. Going up a flight or two of stairs and you've got to stop. Shortness of breath, something to look at. And another one was high blood pressure. We'll take a look at that as well and talk a little bit about that. So what about that real demon of heart disease that we all heard about and been told about all our life? Cholesterol. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that. Cholesterol naturally increases with age. And 80% of the cholesterol is made by your body. If you don't eat it, your liver will make it. It's very important for your function. It's actually more protective than you might think. It's the base of many of your hormones. A lot of the body hormones use cholesterol as the building block. It's the beginning step in that overall reaction to create those different kinds of hormones in your body. In fact, there's whole cultures that have cholesterol numbers that are higher than what everybody's worried about, and they've got lower incidence of heart attack and stroke. Something doesn't seem to add up there very well. And at least half of all the heart attacks and strokes occur in people that have good numbers. They have their cholesterol numbers are what they're supposed to be. Doesn't sound like it adds up. So why is it so bad? Here's a great analogy. The cholesterol's really what it does is it applies a patch or a Band-Aid on the blood vessel. If you have a damage to a blood vessel, it's got a break in it or a leak or something like that, the body has to stop that leak. So it'll put cholesterol and use a cholesterol coating over that to basically patch the hole while the body's repairing itself. Another thing is inflammation. Ongoing inflammation tends to have the cholesterol build up on the areas of the blood vessel that have a lot of inflammation. So the cholesterol is not really the problem. It's the fix. It's a lot like trying to blame a fire on the firemen. Every time there's a fire, firemen show up. So it must be the firemen causing the problem. That's not quite true. It's not the way it works. So let's talk a little bit about hypertension, or what they call high blood pressure. Okay. So another fact, blood pressure naturally increases with age. And some of the blood pressure medications they give you on a regular basis, because they say, well, you're going to have to be on these the rest of your life, have some pretty significant side effects. And what's interesting is blood pressure recommendations have been reduced. In about 2007, they first came out with the first set. By 2017, they lowered the number some more. All that kind of correlates with the blood pressure medications that get promoted. And we start to see something that doesn't quite add up there. Now, these are the normal, or what they consider normal blood pressure recommendations, 120 over 80. And they say 120 to 129 or 80 to 9 is about what they call prehypertension. But realize hypertension is not a disease. It's just a condition. It's a reading on a number. There's something else causing that. And a lot of what we're looking at in the natural functional medicine is let's go to the root cause. Let's find out what's elevating that blood pressure and figure out what we can do to solve that rather than apply a drug that is going to suppress or push the number down, force it down. And that gets to the next thing. Modern solutions have some problems. And then really the kind of all drugs all the time kind of mentality that we've got in our mainstream medicine approach really has some drawbacks. They're really hard on the liver, number one. All those drugs that the doctor gives you, they got to be metabolized. Metabolized means broken down and eliminated out of the body. That's a normal process for the body systems. Your hormones are broken down on a regular basis. The body produces them to have an effect. And then the liver takes over and breaks them down and eliminates them. So that's how we regulate things, by producing more or less hormones. So you got to get rid of them or they'll just build up over time and they don't work. So the liver does its job all the time, eliminating and breaking down these drugs, which it basically looks at as toxic elements in the body. It's pretty hard on them when you're throwing a lot of drugs at it. They've got to do a lot of work. Almost all of them have some undesirable and sometimes pretty serious side effects for that. Some of the heart medications, a standard one for blood pressure and all that, they actually give you a second drug right away because water retention is called edema. And so the blood pressure medication they're going to give you is going to cause you to retain fluid. So they give you another medication because they know that's a side effect of it to help relieve that. You can see how the side effects can start with the second medication and side effects of that. And you pretty soon you get into a domino effect. And that's why people come in on 10, 20 different medications for the side effects of the side effects. And they really are in a bad way when they come in with all of that and they're trying to unwrap that and get back to something that makes their life livable. So you've heard about cardiac ablation. What is that? Actually, they go in with a catheter and go up to the heart because the heart's running too fast, called tachycardia. And what they'll do is basically shock it or burn the nerves to make them slow down. There's a permanent effect. That's pretty serious. You could get damage to the tissues from the catheter. You could see heart attack, stroke, and death are the side effects of cardiac ablation. What's nice is we've got some better natural solutions, which we can talk about. A better way to start? Start with diet. That's one of the things we talk about. So really, what should you do differently? Eat lots of green leafy vegetables. Great way to start. They're low in starch, high in fiber, and all of those kinds of things, so you don't get as much blood sugar spiking with the lower starch content. It's in general, it's healthy for you. So eat vegetables. That is the biggest recommendation we always make. Garlic is a great one. Actually, raw garlic will help reduce your blood pressure. Not cooked, raw garlic. That's the best, one of the best things for it. Olive oil is great. Chia, hemp seeds, flax seeds, the different kinds of seed inputs, almonds and walnuts and berries. The berries got the antioxidants associated with it, really help for inflammation and a number of different things. So really, if you're looking at heart health, eat your vegetables. It's a great thing to do. Now, we hear a lot about salt and hypertension with salt. The problem with salt, the little blue canister with the little girl with the umbrella, what you get with salt there, most of the salt production in the United States or in the world in general is done for chemical processes. They need to take salt out of the ground. The salt out of the ground, typically mined someplace, will have a lot of trace minerals in it. So for salt operations, if I want to do it in a chemical process, I got to eliminate all that. I need pure sodium chloride. That's it. Nothing else in it because I need those two chemical elements in a chemical process. So they go in and strip all of the minerals out and basically purify it to make white salt, which is sodium chloride. Now, they use that in a lot of chemical processes and everything. Well, by the way, we've got this salt made. Why don't we just sell it, put it in a little container, sell it as table salt? So what they've done is stripped out all of the valuable minerals, and you've got nothing but a very high sodium and high chloride content chemical that you're sprinkling on your food. So the problem with that, it causes problems. So look at that. A Finnish study was done. They decreased heart-related deaths by 60%. That's pretty shocking. 60% by using a lower sodium salt with more minerals such as magnesium and potassium. What that is? Sea salt. And some of the mined pink salts that we have. I recommend the ones in the US a little bit more than the ones out of the Himalayas. Those come out of Pakistan. Sometimes they got heavy metal contamination. They're interested in moving a lot of volume and they're not too careful when they mine. They might pick up heavy metals, veins in the salt that may come with that. So sea salt, watch out for sea salt. Make sure it's got some sort of spec associated with microplastics as well. That's becoming a real problem. So check your sea salts. Make sure they've looked at it for heavy metal contamination and microplastics. So those are the two things that I would recommend. Did you know that ocean water, where sea salt comes from, ocean water has the same mineral profile as blood? It's really actually pretty good. Sea salt has what you need for all of those kind of stuff. For health in general, we often recommend sea salt and some of the pink salts. Redmond's is a great one that's mined in Utah in the U.S. So what about lifestyle considerations? Let's take a look at that. Two big things. Sleep. Sleep is critically important. If you don't sleep well, your brain does not have a chance to do its cleaning cycle. It takes about 8 hours to fully do a cleaning cycle for your brain and a brain toxin flush. So I know we're talking about heart, but sleep is good for your brain as well. Good sleep hygiene, getting enough sleep is very important. So minimum of about 7 hours is 7 to 9 is the recommendation. I know it's hard for some folks, but if you can put it in, that's great. What do we mean by sleep hygiene? Sleep when it's dark. Turn the lights out. Get rid of all the little blue lights, the flashing lights, the alarm clock, all of that kind of stuff. Turn off your Wi-Fi so you cut down on the electromagnetic interference and radiation that's coming into the sleep room. Calming minerals. We got a great product called Mintran that we use oftentimes to help people relax. That's why it's called Mineral tranquilizer. It helps calm down. It's great for going to sleep and really reducing that. Gets to stress is another area. Stress and anger. Part of that is recognizing stress and looking at your methods to manage it. Oftentimes recommend things like getting out in nature. Just get out, get away, get in a quiet place, do some walks, meet with friends, get away, talk to people. Relationships, social groups make a big difference with stress and stress management. Another one's anger management. Take a look at that. What's making you angry? Start to look at the things that are the triggers and work with people about that. If you can reduce your stress, you can help go a long way towards your heart health. In fact, I know several people have talked about high stress situations. They've felt like they're going to have a heart attack. They've gone into the emergency room. They've done all the checks and said, we don't see anything. Stress related, heart tightens up in your chest. Looks like a heart attack. It's all about stress. So increasing your detoxification pathways, and adrenal glands with herbs and supplements, which we can help you with. So another way to take a look at your heart is a tool that's called a heart sound recorder. It's an amazing little device. You can see one there. The 1934 version is called the endocardiograph. So it's been around. The concept's been around a very long time. And they actually took at it. And what it does is it's a little, looks like a hockey puck, a little round disc. Strap it on your heart in about 4 different places, and we can listen to your heart valves. So it basically creates an audio, or it listens to, it does the audio, but it creates a visual trace. You can see an example one here in the diagram, and you can see the heartbeats. And based on that trace and what that squiggly little line tells us, we can see things for nutritional deficiencies. You can see how your heart's reacted to things like chemicals, nutrition, emotional things, and other stressors like vitamins, typically good, sugar, caffeine, refined foods. We can see a lot of those kinds of things as we look at that heart sound recorder. So it gives us specific information, and we capture all that. What's great, it gives me a graph. I can take a look at that. We can compare over time. I can run one today and take a look at what one we ran 2 or 3 months ago, 6 months ago, last year, and get a sense of how it's doing. How are we improving? Are we making the changes we want to make? Can we see the visual improvements? The heart sound recorder is a great thing. I do those at Center for Champions. Happy to have you do one, walk you through it. It doesn't take very long, 10, 15 minutes to do the recording, and then we can sit down and discuss it. So it's a great tool. We really like it. It's been very, very effective in a lot of our solutions that we've looked at for people. So a better way to think about it is supplementation. Take a look at what you've got. Here's some good ideas that you might want to do and rotate them throughout the year. So there you got General Heart Health. Cardio Plus is a great supplement we use. Oftentimes recommend that. You could actually use it as your multivitamin of sorts. So there's a heart cardio cleansing program that we can talk about, something you could cycle through. Hawthorne Vascular Care Complex, Cataplex B Vitality with CoQ10. It's a rename of a standard process product. Ceruta Plus and Circuplex. Those are all great heart-related kinds of products that you could cycle through and do that on just a cleanup basis, maybe a couple times a year. Reducing blood pressure, it's an important one. Adrenaline and adaptocrine are 2 things we recommend. Hawthorne, again, is helpful for that. Easy Mag for your magnesium. And another one, like I mentioned, some of the nutritional things, garlic, beef liver for the B vitamins are great for the heart. But we have supplements if you don't really want to eat those things. We've got something that can help. Arrhythmias and heart palpitations, organically bound minerals that gets to the salt kind of thing. So actually, sometimes we recommend getting sea salt into your diet to get in the minerals that you need. Organically bound is another way to do that. Cataplex B Core, or another one is Cataplex B2. B2. So there's several different B vitamin variations we have that we recommend that are very helpful for heart conduction and vascular tone and getting the vascular system up to speed. Chest pain, tension, anxiety, Cataplex B2 again shows up. Cardiotropin, PMG, that's one of our protomorphogen products. We can explain more about how those work, but they're very effective in helping relieve the stress on the heart. Cataplex E2, that one's interesting. Now, that one actually helps with oxygen conservation. Oftentimes recommend that one for people going to high altitude. So if you're headed to the mountains, you're going to Colorado to go skiing, Cataplex E2 is amazing because we live down here in Houston. We're at sea level. You go up to the mountains, you're probably at 10,000 feet to try to do some skiing. Not much oxygen up there. What we find is if you take some Cataplex E2 and take 3 or 4 times a day or 2 before you're going, load up, preload on that, and take 2, 3, 4 times a day while you're there, we find people have great recovery. Their oxygen needs go down. They feel better. They can recover from the altitude change a lot quicker. Several reports, people just come back on that stuff's amazing. And it is. I've used it myself. I go to Colorado from time to time for different things. Cataplex E2 is in my bag. Take it before I go. Take it while I'm there. Very helpful. And last one, high cholesterol. If you're worried about those kinds of things, we can talk to you about cholesterol, what it really means, and the real numbers to focus on. And then around that, if beta food really helps with bile flow and your liver and your gallbladder function, soda, helps with vascular integrity. And lastly, soybean lecithin acts like a detergent to help clear the cholesterol buildup out of the vessel walls. Been very effective, very helpful with that. So I wanted to thank you for listening in and listening to our little talk on heart health. Again, Greg Mitchell, Center for Champions. Have a heart healthy day.